little bit of a vlog style video this week. So there's a bunch of things that I'm about talking about. One, that this is Disability Awareness Month, and as somebody who was on the autism spectrum, I'll talk about that. So, once again, this is Disability Awareness Month. I talk on the regular about my experiences being on the autism spectrum and that sort of stuff. How it relates to media, how it relates to how I take in media, how I go through the world, all that sort of thing. And with the, well, to be frank, recent gutting of lots of mental health care services through Donald Trump's big bloated bastard of a bill, I think it's important to talk about things from a disability perspective. And I tried to think about, okay, what particular topic should I focus on this year or this month or what have you? And after much long deliberation, what came coming back up in my mind is my experiences with the need of support groups, and other entities that help people with disabilities, and often that center people with disabilities. One of the things that, if you follow my streaming channels, you know, is that, well, often I'll take breaks and that sort of thing. Generally, I try to not stream during a certain selection of charity streams. The Games Done Quick events. In fact, I am recording this on the week of 4th of July weekend, the week right before Summer Games Done Quick. I also also Awesome Games Done Quick during the winter as well. I don't stream during Desert Bus for Hope, and I'm not as good at keeping up on when the event is. I try not to stream during RPG Limit Break. Each of these charities that's related to this have a certain degree of importance to me personally, or that I feel serves a vital role, and I want to center them in terms of global issues. I'll talk about some of these now, and with the lead up to the last one being my sort of Disability Awareness Month focus. So, Awesome Games Done Quick raises money for the Prevent Cancer Foundation. Cancer in general, bad. I don't think we need to argue on this point. But this had a bit more of a point vote that hit home to me. During the pandemic, I had a family member, my mother, who went through chemotherapy. Breast cancer. She is cancer-free now, which is very good. And, but having gone through helping her with chemo, I mean, in a weird way, I happened to be unemployed at the time, which put me in a good position to help take care of her, and get her to her appointments and that sort of thing during not just a difficult time for her, but also during the pandemic, which makes this whole thing a whole lot more complicated, for her being immunocompromised. And so I want to help through the Prevent Cancer Foundation, get people access to cancer screenings and to catch cancer early, but also the idea being is finding causes of cancer and ideally preventing it from happening entirely. Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders. Again, this one's doesn't have much of a direct connection to me, but still important nonetheless. Particularly now with global conflicts going on, with the whole situation with Gaza and Palestine, with Ukraine, with Syria. Populations are displaced by war, and when this happens, it's important that people get the people who are caught in the crossfire get the medical help they need. And Médecins Sans Frontières' goal is very noble and just. And I, like, even if Summer Games Did Quick wasn't doing what they did, I'd be donating to them anyway. But in addition to my own donations, I can take time off from streaming and center them. Back when Twitch let me boost or replay a channel on my channel, I would boost RPG Limit. I would boost these channels on my channel to try and get my audience watching and supporting these causes. Desert Bus for Hope. So I have not had to have long stays in the hospital, certainly not as a child. However, I had friends who did. In grade school, I had a classmate who was in elementary school who had leukemia and had to have an extended stay at Dornberger Children's Hospital. I had teachers whose had kids who had chronic medical conditions that required extended stays at Dornberger Children's Hospital. So I secondhand understand the difficulties that comes with kids through those environments, and the importance of having, and through my experience as a for my major being in medical informatics, and with that coming with that education on what all the aspects of the hospital do and how you be supporting them, but also how these relate to ultimately improving quality of care. And so I understand that being in a bad mental mindset, feeling depressed or stressed out because you're in a hospital going through tests and treatments and all sorts of other stuff all day, can lead to, can put a mental and ultimately physical toll on the body, which makes it difficult for treatment to work. So ultimately, the work that Child's Play does saves lives. And so, again, I support that, and will donate to Child's Play, but also I want to step back during Desert Bus for Hope and and encourage my viewers, that's you, to watch the Desert Bus stream instead. And finally, there's the one that gets more direct to me, and that is RPG Limit Break and NAMI, the National Alliance for Mental Illness. And I am on the autism spectrum, and that normally that means I don't like to, and other people in the autism spectrum in general don't like to, when they're talking about our experience with autism, describe it in this. We don't like conflating it with stuff like schizophrenia, like with extreme depression, or like depression and anxiety, where there is overlap. People who are on the autism spectrum, like myself, can have depression, can have anxiety, can have ADHD. There is mental health intersectionality as much as there's intersectionality between the neurodivergent and the LGBT community, the BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, people's community. We intersect. We do not go off on our own and are just white people. Quite to the contrary, there is underdiagnosis often of mental health conditions in the Black, Indigenous, the BIPOC community. I don't know the right way to do that, say that out loud verbally. This is just because I'm talking off the cuff. This is just in general. Like, it's writing that down is one thing. Having saying it out loud versus outside of saying people of color, because I also want, it's sometimes necessary to mention that includes people of Indigenous descent. It's always a little clunky verbally. But anyway. So where this connects to me is, I have been, for a very long time, involved, not at the present, it's kind of stepped back from that for a while, I've been involved with basically through like middle school / high school, various nonprofits in the Portland area with working with the autistic community. Going all the way back to before the revised DISM, the Diagnostic Something Service Manual, came out, which combined what was then a separate entity, Asperger's syndrome, in with as part of an autism spectrum disorder, or autism spectrum disability, depending how you want to call it. And I'd been involved with, at the time, a group called PAN, the Portland Asperger's Network. Again, Asperger's and autism were separate things at the time. And they were involved with doing an monthly event called Game Club, which way this was set up is you had game consoles, and CRT televisions and projectors set up for kids, and you had kids, everything set up so kids can go play video games together. That's the key part here, together. A chance for socialization with other people who are on the autism spectrum, who are your peers. You could hang out, talk to each other, and form a community in a safe space where people weren't going to make fun of you because you're on spectrum. And that was, I think, and still is. I haven't been as actively involved in PAN as I was in the past. It's an important thing. And as I aged, I started out, I was like, again, it was middle school. I started hitting a point where, like, okay, the games we're playing, like, we're limited to, like, E-rated games. Which, on one hand, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, there's good times to be had. There's fun to be had there. But on the other hand, like, teen-rated games were out, so Street Fighter was out of the question. Tekken was out of the question. So it became... So I, and some of my peers went, okay, can we have a teen section? And for, like, teen-rated games, we'll partition this off, we'll find a space, and we'll have it set up, and we can play Tekken or Street Fighter or what have you. And we figured things out, got things set up, and had a special area. And while we were doing that, we had the thought of, some other parents were involved with this too, their kids. So I was related to this, thought of, hey, what if we had an outing and went to see movies? Because Lord of the Rings was coming out at the time. This really makes the timetable very clear. We're talking like 2000s. So we started doing events, going out to see movies, laser tag, and that sort of thing. And then we went, okay, what if we had our own, like, actual separate thing, completely different from Game Club, same concept, but on a different location where it's just the teenagers, and maybe the older teenagers, where in this case, hey, on the one hand, this means that you have a spot for the teen stuff, but also the idea being is for having a place where parents who have kids who don't have young children. It's one thing where Game Club, where you have where you have the younger siblings go off to this section, and the older siblings who are also on spectrum can go off to this section, and everyone can do their thing. But something else if you're just older kids, if you're just older teens, having to have a spot that is yours, and you don't have to feel like you're have to commingle with the loud, noisy younger children. And so I helped organize and get that set up at a venue, and did that for a while. As I got older, handed that off to to the previous group of people, or to the existing audience, because the idea being, well, part of the thing with the teen room at Game Club was ultimately the kids helped set it up themselves. And the hope was there that, hey, pass this off to the next group, and they will have help get things set up themselves as well. And at this time, I'd moved on into the workforce, and also while working back to college, I'm like, okay, I want to put something together as a more regular support group thing for college students who are on Spectrum and or older high school students, people who are about to graduate from high school, go to college, people who are in college, people who are about to leave college and enter the workforce. That audience, and I started that group. And with a lot of these other ones, I have been able to pull in something from other groups to where, like, because I was building off of Teen Game Club, where I'm able to tap a resource from that group or from existing parents. I'm like, okay, we need a space that we can store stuff. Who's got a church that has an activity room where we can keep stuff at and that we can use it on Saturdays? That sort of thing. This one, we ended up floating back and forth through a few different locations for a few different nonprofits, and ultimately ended up settling on, ended up running into, well, it was through the Autism Society of Oregon, who passed this we had a member of a group who was a adult who was part of PAN, who passed information along. They introduced us to NAMI, and introduced me to NAMI, and helped provide a space. And they were kind enough that they didn't particularly charge us much money. They didn't. They gave the keys. And say, okay, trusted me with the keys and say, hey, take care of the space, clean up after yourselves when you're done. And basically for several years before, once again, I reached a point in my career and my life, I'm like, okay, I need to hand this off to someone else. If this is going to be self-sustaining, it can't just be me running it. So I reached the point where, like, okay, in order to be confident this will work, I need to step back. And but like NAMI helped with that, and I believe last time I checked in, I don't know if the group's still in operation, but last time I checked in, they were still using NAMI as their space to operate in. And I think that's so that is my direct connection to NAMI. Is NAMI isn't just they connect you with resources. It isn't just, hey, here's how to help finding a psychiatrist who will help you with your depression or your adult autism diagnosis or adult ADHD diagnosis or that sort of thing. Sometimes it's you're running a support group and you need a space to meet. They can help with that, and that means a lot. Because that means that you can have a place for a peer group of people who are neurodivergent to have the space to get together and talk with the facilitator and get the help they need when they need it from their peers, rather than just having to honestly, that rather than going to stop there, it's to get that help they need from their peers. To have a peer group who's also saying, hey, I'm running into these problems too. If we talk and work together, we can get through this together. And so that's what NAMI means to me. I probably could have put this video out during the week of RPG Limit Break, but one of the minor advantages to having my buffer be so short is I can put this video out now. I can put this video out actually in the month of Disability Awareness Month when it's topical. So that is, again, what NAMI means to me, and I would recommend and endorse supporting the organization on this Disability Awareness Month. I'll have a link in the show notes for where you can go to do so. I encourage you once again to donate. If you've worked with NAMI in the past as a volunteer, if you've used their services, if you feel comfortable sharing a story, please let me know in the show notes below. Feel free to pass that information along. I'm not sure, in the comments below. I encourage you, if you feel comfortable, no pressure, to pass along your background and your personal experiences. Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe. And also consider backing my Patreon. Patreon backers get episodes up to 1 week early of this show and any future Let's Plays. Also, please consider backing my Ko-fi. Toss me a few bucks also helps support the show, and it's not a monthly obligation or anything like that.